Hey Tim, you bear with me for a minute. I'm sizing up a bar. This is a piece of billet that I've had that I heated it up and I put a tighter twist in it. I made a hammer out of part of it, and then this is a leftover remaining off that hammer. I heated it up. I put a lot tighter twist in it. Now I'm sizing it down to like a 1/4 by 1 inch bar. So I'm going to throw in my 1/4 inch bar spacer so that I can size it right to 1/4 inch. And then I'll have to guess the 1 inch as I'm doing it. I can't have a 1 inch and a 1/4 inch spacer. You guys might find that if I'm over there, you're going to have a hard time hearing me too. I forgot about that. I put a spacer, a die in there that's it's a kiss block. It comes down and hits that block when it gets to 1/4 inch thick so that it won't go any farther. Alright, take my bar over there. Just do a little sizing. You can see I'm just bringing that bar down. It's still pretty thick. I'm going to get it down to 1/4 by 1 roughly. Then once I get it to 1/4 by 1, we're going to make a blacksmith's letter opener, because I don't make knives. But since this is made out of 1080 and 15N20, it could be hardened, could be made into a knife. We did this earlier today. I went to my club, the blacksmith club that I belong to, the New York State Designer Blacksmiths, and I went to our guild or club or whatever you want to call it, chapter of Urbana. And they made a blacksmith's knife, and I told one of the guys I didn't make one because, you know, I wanted to let the newer guys have access to the forges and stuff. So you can see I got a kiss block in there, so I'm bringing it down to 1/4 inch, and I'm just eyeballing 1 inch. But with the kiss block, it'll give me exactly a 1/4 of an inch thick. I was hoping to have all this part done before I started the stream, but I didn't come down until the last minute, and I had to get the fire started, and yada yada yada, etc., etc., etc. So, for those traditionalists, you know, if Thomas pops in or one of them guys, you know, I'm not really doing it traditional. I use the power hammer. I'm going to be, you know, sanding this down with the belt sander. Probably not on screen, but. Once again, the kiss block sets that direction. This I got an eyeball. So this is actually going to be probably long enough to get 2 of them out of, if I decide to make 2. Hey Kevin, how you doing? And Tim, and whoever else shows up. So yeah, I didn't make one earlier today when everybody else was making them at the meeting, and there was one of the new guys, and you know, I wanted to give, there was a few new guys, and I wanted to give them a chance to get at the forges, because I can come home and do it at home. They can't. They don't have all the equipment. Coincidentally, I did give them the 3 pairs of tongs that I did on the last couple live streams to help them get started with their tool collection and started on their blacksmithing journey. But one of the new guys, when I told him that I was probably going to make one, but I'd make it out of Damascus, kind of, you know, said pictures or it didn't happen, so I told him even better, I'll make the billet up and then I'll do it on the live stream. What did they do, Jim? Or Kevin? What was the project? Or was it a class, or was it just like a guild meeting? I'm going to get a ruler and just check and see how close I am to 1 inch. I'm at like 7/8. That's not too bad. It's a little narrower than it's supposed to be, but it's pretty consistent. 7/8 over the whole length. Maybe I can heat it up and just come in and make it just a little wider. If I go to the other side of my die, I'll go slightly less. 3rd day of a beginning blacksmith class. Okay, I got you. Beginning class? You've been doing this like almost as long as I have, or longer. Some things were easy. I've learned some other things. Like, what were you doing? As far as, you know, what was the project? What was the skill builder? See, maybe you can see, that widened it out a little bit wider than it is there. So I'm probably, yep, I don't know if you can see the marks. Let me get a piece of soapstone. The white mark is the 1 inch mark. So sometimes my eye chronometer works pretty good. I'm going to flip this around, do the same thing to the other end. I'm going to take just a little bit of thickness out, try to get this end out to the 1 inch. Then we're probably going to cut the bar basically probably almost in half. I'll have to see what I got to work with. I do have to cut probably 1 inch or so off the end because I had the area that I clamped in the vise when I twisted it. Doesn't have any twist in it. I don't want that to be in it. Okay, various basic skills. Yeah, well, I probably, I'm not gonna lie, I should probably go back and take a basic class and just get back to the basics and the fundamental, because I've done so much cheating over the years, you know, and using modern tools and stuff that I kind of have lost my way on the actual forging. Alright, give it a little more. Lead instructor, yeah. I hear you, Kevin. And you guys always remember that you can have side conversations over there in the chat. You know, I'm not here to, I don't care how many subscribers I have or anything like that. Alright, let me shut this off. So I don't know if this is going to show up on the camera or not. If I get it twisted just right, maybe. Probably not. Anyway, it's got a twist pattern in it. Like I said, this was a much larger twist, so I twisted it a lot tighter, but then in the process of drawing it out, it grew some, which I knew it was gonna. So first thing I'm going to do is heat up, take like an inch right off the end of that bar, throw it away. Because that's where it was clamped in the vise. And what I do when I do the twist, this one is about maybe 20 layers of steel. It was about 20 layers, so what I do is I flatten off a section, like just a short section, 3/4 of an inch or so, that I can clamp in the vise. So if this was, say, 3/4 of an inch, I made a section maybe 1/2 inch thick, flat on the ends, so that I can clamp it in the vise and then twist it. But the rest of it in between them two flats was octagon. That way, if you try twisting the square, you could fold over and get cold shots, especially when you're doing a tight twist. All right, so let me cut off a portion that has little to no twist pattern in it. Get up into good material. Alright, so I cut almost all the way through. I don't cut all the way through. I don't want to run my hammer into my cutter. And I bend it a couple times. And now I'm at the point where I can just grab it with a pair of tongs and wiggle it until it falls off. That way I don't have pieces flying across the shop. I'll take the junk scrap piece and I'll just set it up here somewhere so that it can cool off. But eventually I'll take all these junk pieces that I have, random chunks and pieces, because that's still like 20 layers thick in there. It just doesn't have a lot of pattern. And eventually I'll take all the random pieces and throw them into a canister with some powdered steel and make myself up a nice thing. So I'll pull it out. I'll fix that end up a little bit. Then I'm going to chop off maybe 6.5 inches. So before I chop it off, just flattening that edge back. Get rid of the rag from the cut. Now you can see it's nice and smooth. Then we'll make her 6 or 6.5 inches long, and we'll go ahead and cut it off. And that'll be the length we need for the billet, for the start. So what I will do is mark a spot on my anvil, and I do this a lot. I'm going to say a little over 6 inches. These guys probably can't see it, but right there I have a mark. I mean, this doesn't have to be totally accurate. If it did, I would do it a different way, but this isn't super accurate. It doesn't need to be. About right at the end of my... Okay, I don't have enough material to make two. I got a score in it. I don't have enough heat to cut it right now, because it was right at the end of the heat, the 6-inch mark. So when you get it pushed in the fire a little deeper. Hey! How we doing, Alexis? So like I said, one of the guys was like, oh, you know, so he may end up hopping in. I'm not sure what his name is, or what his name on YouTube is. His name was Julian, so. But I told him I'd have, you know, just to look me up, and I'd be doing a live stream about 6, so. You gotta remember, he made one of these earlier today, and he spent a couple hours making one out of mild steel. So this is out of, you know, real steel. So it will be moving a lot harder than what he was working with today. All right, I'm almost all the way through. Bendy, bendy, bendy. I mean, I almost had enough for another one. I'll find something to do with that piece. I'll use it somewhere. Flip it around, take the cutter out. flattening it down right now. Hitting the rag, so I don't know if you guys can see that pattern. And it doesn't look like it's showing up. I can see the camera while I'm holding it up there, tipping it. I didn't see the pattern in it, so you guys probably won't either. All right. So now I got to go about halfway. And I'll put a notch in it. And that's going to be pretty easy because I'm pretty sure, yeah, my anvil's 3 inches wide, so that's halfway. Just putting my mark in there, and I'll come to the good side. So I got my mark established, roughly in the center. My biggest thing is with the Damascus, you have to sand all of it in order for the pattern to show. So when I do the handle part, I'm probably going to make that round, and I'm not going to put any twists or anything in it because I won't be able to sand it later on to make the etch show. Alright, let me get it right there. Probably going to go about halfway to start. Straighten it up good. Got a good notch. We're about a little under half. We'll go just one more heat, a little deeper, but not a whole lot. So the notch will go just a little bit deeper. That looks good. Straighten it out. That was another thing I was explaining to these new guys is, you know, after you've done your work, take your time and straighten your material, your piece out before you move to your next step. If you keep doing that all along, you can keep everything in check. So we've got a good deep notch. What I left is going to be the spine where the handle is going to come out. This is going to be one of them simple blacksmith knives. So I want to leave the notch down, and I'm going to taper the end of the bar down. Some guys will start off and they'll just cut the bar off at like a 45-degree angle. I won't cut it off, I'll just hammer it. The thing you got to watch for is getting the fish mouth in the end of it. For me, the biggest part about not getting the fish mouth is just bringing in at an angle so that you don't make one. So you can see we're started to bring that angle down. I gotta get some more coal on my fire because I want to get this a little hotter so that I can work it easier. But I don't want it really, really screaming hot because it is tool steel. I don't want to burn all the carbon out of it. You know, I don't really want to bring it up to welding temp too much. I stay up all day just running at night. But you know what? I got the wrong end. Because I want this sharp edge to be basically the ricasso or whatever you call it. Not that long taper. So this end would be the handle. I'll use up some of the heat since I got it. Then we'll flip ends and start doing the other one on the right end. Let's try that again. And I think he said he had a cold quartz, but he's never used it. All right. Try this again. almost there. So I got more work done in that one heat than I did in like 3 heats on the other end. Must be doing something right. Oh. So can she. And so can I. Can't laugh or say too much because I've burnt pieces here on live stream. All right. Okay, so you can see I got that nice taper down, and I brought it right down to a pretty fine point. And just by hammering out on the end and coming in like this a lot and not smushing it down, I didn't form a fish mouth in the end of that. And that's pretty much the way to get rid of your fish mouth, is just don't make one by keeping that top tucked in. So now what I'm going to do before I move to packing that edge, I'm going to start tapering it from the back down to the point and putting like the distal taper in. I know all these like knife making terms. You guys know that I'm not a big knife maker. Not a big fan of knife making. But that doesn't mean I can't. It just means I don't enjoy it. Not a knife maker. Never claimed to be. Alright. Now all I'm doing, I'm not packing the edge or anything like that. I'm just tapering from back here out to the point. For the most part, I'm still trying to keep that cutting edge flat and straight and my width consistent. As I taper it down over the length, the distal taper. Then I'll get this one done. I know, I just didn't feel like doing the bell tonight. I don't know why. I think I'm going to start over on the bell. I got that one kind of wonky and twisted to one side a little bit. I don't like it. So I decided I didn't want to do the bell, so we're on this project today. One more heat on that, working that down, forming that taper, and then I can go and start packing in the edge. That's what I call it when I hammer down and make the tapers. And no, it doesn't pack the edge and some people call it packing the edge because they say that it makes the grain size smaller, which is not true. The actual edge packing is what they call it, is a myth. All right. So I'm pretty close. What I'm going to do is I'm a little bit wider there than I am right back here, so I'm going to take one more heat and kind of squish that down before I start the edge. See, Kevin, you can do it. Yeah. That's kind of like today, the shop owner, Mark, grabs onto a vise and goes to move it. And I told him I would help him out by grunting every time he pulled it. All right. So you can see I got that. What I was looking at is I got something weird looking right there. I don't know if you guys are going to be able to see it. Right there. That I'm not sure if it's a crack. I don't think it is. I think it's just a dent. I'm going to check that before I go any farther. And I'll just take it up the top, hit it right there. Make sure that it's just a dent. And then I'll start hammering in the bevel. Now if you notice, if you point that tip down, I got the tip right now pointed down. It's like a sax, you know. But as you go along and you hammer that edge, when you put that bevel on, that material has to go somewhere. So it gets a little wider, but it also gets longer on the bevel side of the blade. So that length has to go somewhere, so it makes that tip come right back up. All right, let me give it a couple good whacks. Whatever it was, it might have just been a piece of scale because it's not there anymore. All right, so now we're ready to start doing this edge. And like I said, when I hammer on this side, that material is going to grow, get longer. This side stays the same, and that tip is going to just curve right back up. And then I'll be finishing this, you know, and doing all this sanding and stuff after the stream or later tomorrow. I have the day off tomorrow because it's Martin Luther King Day. So maybe I'll come out tomorrow and finish it up and do the sanding and the smoothing and get it all down pretty close and then harden it. Tonight all I'm worried about is just getting the shape down. So I'm working right at the close edge. Now I've drawn I don't know if you can see it, but you can see the bevel right there is starting to form. Then I'll take a couple heats and just keep working that down until I get it so that it's, I don't want it paper thin on that end. I want to leave it, they say the thickness of a dime is what you want to leave on that, where the cutting edge will be, so that when you harden it, it's not paper thin, so it doesn't crack in the quenches as easily or warp as bad. It's just what they say. I'm not a knife maker, so I can't tell you for sure. Alright, let me keep going. You notice I'm holding it close to an edge. And with each succession, that bevel will come up a little farther. And I'm still pretty straight. And you can see that tip starting to come back up. Now if I don't want all this curve in the back, I can take that out. I just got to pay attention to it while I'm forging. Some people will actually bend that back so that it's not straight before they start. Considering how thick I had it up on that end, I probably should have, because it's a lot of material that's going to stretch. But it is what it is. I wanted to leave the spine roughly 1/4 inch thick still, right at that where the tang itself starts, because I didn't want to get it thinner than 1/4 inch square, because that's about what size I'm going to make the handle itself. You don't want it to come up and have a real thin spot in your handle. So the blade has to stay that thick. And if you were doing something else, you might do like a plunge grind is a way to kind of cover that up. See, I kind of straightened the back out again, and I'm still working my bevel. You can stop halfway up like that. You can run it all the way up from so it's a taper from there all the way up to the back, but I'm not gonna. I'm just gonna thin out a little bit more down on the towards the handle end. Thin it, do a little straightening, thin it, do a little straightening, because as I thin it, it's gonna curve more. I don't want too much curve. I don't want this thing to look like a scimitar. These guys aren't talking very much. I get tired of having to do all the talking. I mean, at least if Thomas was here, that's something he's good at, talking. Small imperfections I can grind out. You know, like if I don't have a perfectly smooth line there. But I'm thinner back here than I am right in that area, so I need to work right here in the center a little bit more. And then that'll be good. The rest of it will be grinded. And I'm alright with that shape. I'm not a knife maker, so I don't expect it to be perfect. Coincidentally, normally I tell everybody I don't make knives, I don't harden, and temper most of the stuff I make. But in order to see the lines in Damascus, it does make the lines come out a lot better if you harden it. So this will be, before it's all said and done, I will harden and temper this just like you would a knife. I won't go to the extreme of worrying about thermal cycling and all that. I do have a little bit of a hump back there, but I'm debating because if I go back, my edge is pretty skinny right now. And if I go back and start trying to hammer that out, I might ruin it. So I might be better off just grinding that little chunk away. In the finishing. So, alright, let me flip this around. And then we can start working on handle. Clean a little pointer out of my tire first. Alright. Anchor back up a little bit. Get the gear back on. Put some new coal in. we got to draw out our handle. So a lot of your handle is going to be pretty much 1/4 inch. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to start out with, oh, what was that? My video just went jumpy on me. I don't know, it looks good now, but anyway, I'm going to start out with, I'm not dropping frames. I don't know what that was about. I just glanced up and seen it. It flickered like the Matrix. Okay. So what was I saying? I forgot what I was saying. Oh, I'm not going to make it 1/4 inch off the back all the way down to the end. I'm probably going to make it more like a 3/8 down to a 1/4 inch square near the end. And another good thing is, if you don't have a lot of hammer control, always try to leave the blade part that you already made down and off the edge of the anvil, so that when I come in, it's down, it's off the edge of the anvil. I don't have to worry about coming in and hitting it, because it's not there. Oh, moves a lot harder than mild steel. But we'll get there. Few heats. I got that thin enough that up on the blade edge, just squeezing it with the tongs is deforming it, so it'll be alright. Alright, Kevin, we will see you shortly. So let's do some drawing. We're drawing down. I'm not going to... It's a lot colder than it looks on the camera. I'm not going to just keep beating on it when it's dull heat, because I'm drawing. It's a lot of work. Some guys draw over to the horn of the anvil. Pretty popular. I've never been a big, huge fan of it, so. As you guys can see, once again, driving the corner in. Driving the corner in. Straightening. Going back in the heat. As it gets smaller, the smaller it gets, the easier it is to work. And that'll start out on one end and be like maybe 3/8 by 1/4, down to 1/4 square on the other end. A nice gradual taper if I do it right. And once again, if I leave that piece down, I don't have to worry about squishing it. They're getting longer. You can see all the notches in there. That's for me driving my corners of my hammer in there and using it like a fuller to push that material out. I don't hit and slide my hammer like some people say. I don't think that really does anything. We're getting there. We're getting a nice smooth taper from one end to the other. The smoother I can get it now, the less grinding and work I have to do later. Like I said, because it's made out of Damascus, it's all got to get sanded to show the pattern. So I got two choices. I can put a resist, like a paint or a clear coat or something on the handle, and then just sand and do my thing, or I can get right in and do the whole handle, which means, you know, getting out a Dremel probably to make sure I get into every spot that I need to. And all right, kind of thick through here. Now I'm leaving it up because I've got halfway decent hammer control. So I'm not worried about hitting that edge because I'm not getting real close to it. When I do have to get real close, I just put it down. I think he said the tang wants to be about 9 inches long. And unfortunately, I'm only at 7 now, so we're going to keep going. What I may do is leave a little bit, the last inch, and not touch the last inch. And then do like a fantail scroll and make my finger guard in that. we're stretching out. We'll get ourselves another measurement. At 7.5. Now I'm starting to look, I've got the taper nice. So I'm starting to look at it and say if I need more length, now I'm going to have to start thinking about thinning it as it goes down towards the end, thin it less than quarter. So I can get some more length out of it. Keep the dimensions I got, because I don't want a real wiry, scrawny handle. So start thinning that. So now you can see I'm starting to go a little less than quarter so that I can get more length and keep that taper that I've got going on. Now you guys probably thought I'd be done by now. What is it? It's 7 o'clock. I mean, I'll have the forge work all done with this probably before 8. Then the rest of it's going to be off camera. It's stretching. See what we got. We're about 8 now. Once we get another half, I'll call it good at 8.5, because once I go through, I'm going to knock the corners down in and not round it, but make it more of a, not round, but oval almost like. For at least a rectangular with the corners knocked off pretty good. So when I do the corner knockoff, that'll give me a little more there. And when I do the fantail on the end for the finger guard, that'll give me a little more length there. So I think we'll be all right. After I get ½ an inch more, and I'm just looking to see, I got a thick spot right there, so I'm going to worry about right there. And it's still going. I'm going to heat just that end and work that end a little. I don't know if I lost everybody or what. Is my chat working? I haven't seen a comment since Trail Dust said he was going to go feed the horses. I don't know if that's code for he has to go take a poop or what. And the straighter and smoother and even these lines are, when you get to where you're doing your bends and you're moving it around, the better them come out. Because if it's all notchy, it's going to want to be kinky. Just keep going. Like I said, we're going to keep going until we get to about 8.5. Which I'm there. I'm at 8.5 now. Yeah, right about 8.5. So now what I'm going to start doing is standing up on the diamond and knocking the corners in. Do that from one end all the way to the other. We're not just randomly smacking. We're trying to hit. Oh, Tim's still awake. See? At least somebody's still awake. We're not just hitting randomly. We're trying to hit and then move over just like maybe half a hammer width and just keep moving over so that we're overlapping onto what we've already got. That way we get a smoother, continuous line down it. Whew. So I've got about that much of it done. Got to pack it in a little bit on the sides so that I don't end up with a little wider spot and then a concave in between them. Move up and do the next section up. Faster because it's smaller. I'm not totally rounding this because it's not square. I am starting to get a twist in it. Take care of that real quick. got a little bit left to go there. All right, a little more. Now I'm going to cheat here. I'm going to take a heat and then I'm going to walk over to my power hammer and I'm just going to use it to make any high spots in that handle disappear. So I'm going to take my clamp off. If you didn't have a power hammer, you could do that easily with a flatter. And I don't need to do it, I'm just doing it just to make it easier to sand out later. So, not beating the heck out of it, just a couple little clumps. Alright, so you can see I got that done. It's flat on the sides, rounded on the front and back there. We get a little more heat, handle that end. Then on the end, the very end, I may go up, I got a little rag there, I can take a file to it. I'll probably just walk over to the belt grinder and just take the little bit of rag off the end. After I I'm going to take that little bit of rag off. Just a little touch, that's all. Okay. Now with my blade up and down, I'm going to hammer the end of that down to a taper, but I'm going to let it widen out so that I have a little wider finger grip piece. And that I probably want maybe 1.5 inches, like that. Alright, so I want my blade up and down. I'm not packing it in, I'm just forming it. can see, I let it get wider, thinner and wider. Alright, let me clean the fire a little bit here. Hate this coal. I hate it and I love it at the same time, because I hate it because it gets a lot of clinker. I love it because it was cheap. It was real cheap. And I was able to buy a lot of it, which I normally wouldn't have bought, because normally I couldn't afford to go out and buy as much as I did all at once. Alright. Pull it back in. Make it up. Throw some more coal. Alright, I will be right back. 2 minutes. Alright, I'm back. That fire is going good. Cut the air down a little bit. Alright, so on the end of that, yeah, I had to step out for 2 minutes too myself. And I'm back now. On the end of that, maybe I'll make that spot just a little bit longer where the finger guard is going to be, and I got it a little wider. I do drink a lot of waters down here in the shop. That's what these are, just bottled waters. Sparkling black raspberry. Wow, I'm surprised we don't have any Thomas tonight. He usually pops in. Last week we had quite a few people. That's better, I think. Alright, so we got the end, we let it widen out a little bit, and we tapered it down right to an edge. So now what I'll do is I'll come in with my blade up and I'll curl that around and make like a, maybe almost a half a circle, 3/4 of an inch diameter. Or so. We'll see how that works out. But so far so good. I mean, this is looking like it's coming along pretty good. Like I said, I'll be doing all the grinding and everything off camera. Nobody really wants to see me grind. see, I made that maybe a little bit big. Let me take a little bit out, make it a little smaller. Okay, so we've got a curve in it, and the curve is the opposite of the blade. Before I move any farther, I gotta fix right here and get that hump out. So let me get it all the way in and get the heat up to there. Work on getting that hump out. Grinding is where the real excitement, yeah, real exciting. So this is coming out all right for a non-knife maker. Yeah, and some of the grinding, if I decide to let the pattern show all the way down through the handle, although you got to remember you're drawing it out a lot, so that twist is going to turn into just lines lengthwise because you're drawing it out so far. So it's not going to be real exciting up there. But I may end up having to go in and do some of that even like with a Dremel tool. If I decide that I want the whole thing to be, pattern welded showing through. Or I could just paint the handle end black and that'll act as a resist and then etch the blade part so that just the blade part is etched. Or I do have some copper gilding that I've never used. Let me get more heat. I didn't have enough. And this is usually about the time when I'm doing a live stream. I'll burn it or something stupid when I'm almost at the end. So I'll kind of try to pay attention. I don't want to have to do it again, although I do still have a chunk of bar. I would have to make a slightly smaller one because there's not as much material there. Or make it thinner. That seems to have worked. See that big hump that was right there is now gone. But I do need to straighten this. And line a little bit. That's not too bad. Now I'll heat this up and we'll bend it around. That finger guard should end up right here when we're done. It's not uncommon for me to take a couple heats just doing this and trying to get it aligned up good and get it so that the curves look nice and smooth and I don't have kinkiness or anything like that to them. And I'm starting to get a little hungry too. No breakfast or lunch because I went to my blacksmith meeting and there. Now if I accidentally hit that. See, I'm starting to bring it around. I'm going to take another heat and I got to push some of that material back that way. And I just don't like it when my people make their bends and their bends are like notchy and crooked. I like it smooth and flowing. Not just on this, on most things in general. And if you're trying to make it a smooth and flowing, it should be smooth and flowing. Spend all that time putting all that in there and then go back and wreck it. We're getting there. We're starting to get that in line to tuck down there. At the same time, we'll end up with a good thickness to grab around with our hand. It won't be a mile wide. And we got to remember that I can't just set this up and bang on it because that fantail is wider. So I have to keep that in mind and keep it off the anvil when I'm working back here. Checking overall straightness, looking to see where my fantail has to go. Yeah, I'm not touching it. I'm just kind of sizing, seeing if it's the right size. During the class or meeting, demonstration, whatever you want to call it today, it was 9 inches was what they were shooting for. Now I'm looking to see if my blade is lined up with my handle, or if there's any twist that needs to be made to it, and my finger guard. Just a tiny twist. Okay, that looks pretty good. Now I'm not going to quench this because it is 15N20 and 1080. As you can see, we've got nice smooth flowing lines. We got a nice wider area where you're where your finger's going to hit your finger guard. And we got our blade. We're going to set that aside and let it cool down. See how it fits in my hand. And that'll be just about it. What did I miss? Grinding is where the real excitement is. You shut your dirty mouth. Yeah. So we'll let that cool down naturally. And it is pretty smooth. It's got pretty smooth bevels on it. It's really pretty straight, so it's not going to take me a whole lot to grind this out. And then do my etching and stuff. Yeah, that finger guard could have been a little bit smaller. It still can. I mean, I can go in. I'm not doing major adjustment. And close it up a little bit more. I think that's about as far as I want to go. We'll just let that cool for a minute. Turn my air off. Go around. Turn the fan itself off. Start putting my tongs and stuff away. So what did you guys think? I mean, it was a pretty simple, basic project, so I'm sure you didn't learn anything, that's for sure. I mean, anybody that's made even one knife pretty much knows, you know, the language and the, you know, the distal taper and the ricasso and the spine and the anatomy. Now, I never put water on my fire, so when it gets to the end, you see what I do is I'm just pulling out and spreading that hot coals around up on my forge and just letting it cool off, and then I'll close my door down because that keeps my heat from going out because my shop's heated. Keeps my heat from going right up the chimney. Still a little warm. I just want it to cool down so that I can gauge it and see if it feels good in the hand. Alright, thanks guys. Yeah, and like I said, I highly encourage people to talk in the chat while I'm working, because it gives you guys some talking back and forth. And really all I got to do is invite Ben, because if I invite Ben, he'll never shut up. But that'll do it. And I just didn't feel like doing the bell. I still got the bell project to get back to. I may start over completely on that. May not make Thomas's deadline for the it's almost hot enough to where I can pick it up. I could quench it now, and it probably wouldn't hurt it at all, but sometimes you'd be surprised. You'll be like, even if it's got not color, but it's still temper color, sometimes that'll be enough to harden some steels. And then I got to decide if I want to try to clean the entire thing up so that the pattern shows the whole thing, including the handle, or just the blade. Then I wondered if I made one of these and I took this negative space here in the handle and filled it with epoxy, like a blue epoxy or something, what it would look like. But I'd have to get the fit dead on right in this area, so the epoxy just doesn't leak right out. Or use some clay or something to build a dam. But yeah, I'm done. I'm just going to give this a couple minutes to cool off. Thanks for showing up, guys. Not even sure what time it is. 7:40, so I'm going to make it up there and grab something to eat. I went to my blacksmith meeting and I didn't eat any breakfast this morning. I went to the meeting. I left the meeting. I got a small bag of that Andy Cap's cheddar fries, and that's the only thing I've eaten all day, so kind of hungry. And I'm not myself when I'm hungry, so that's cooled off enough that I can go ahead and close my door down, throw a couple bricks in, shut my computer down, call it a night, and head up to the house. All right, thanks for showing up, guys.